So advances in augmented reality, or AR. Okay, so I mentioned before, the two topics I talk about, ThingWorx and Vuforia, which is PTC's AR technology platform. Okay, so actually this kind of comes back to a lot of what Brett said. The industrial pressures that companies are facing today. So things like the worker skill gap. Okay, finding enough people to fulfil the roles that are about to become empty because of a workforce that is starting to look at retirement. Or how do we keep on upgrading skills? Okay, how do you get those people in and on board? More complicated products. Okay, so products are becoming much more complex. Okay, so as people are having to deal with assembling or servicing or maintaining those different products, there's a whole level of complexity that comes with these new systems, these smart connected products. So how do we make sure that our people on the ground who are dealing with that are equipped with the right information and skills? Okay. The last part is around increased customer demands, okay? So there's that expectation of immediacy, right? Brett was saying about how, here are my demands now, but they've changed an hour later, okay? We're living in a world now where, you can sit on the couch and order food, you can watch whatever you want at any point in time. I want to stream this from Netflix now, okay? I want to order some Uber Eats because I feel like Thai, or maybe I want tacos, okay? Don't have to get off the couch. So we've got a world where that instantaneous gratification is here, and customers are expecting that in the marketplace as well. Okay? So, and if you don't meet them, then they'll find someone that will. Okay? So it becomes very, very competitive. So you need to be able to differentiate yourself. Okay? So really that's what these drive down to. Our worker skill gap, we're looking at how we can improve our productivity. Okay? How do we be more efficient and more effective when we're dealing with these complex systems? Okay, and how we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. So a lot of this, when we're talking about people, this comes down to, how do we upskill and train and get information to the people at the right time? Okay, so we talked before with ThingWorx about, products and processes, but people, okay? So one of the big issues, and there's been loads of studies to talk about this, is, around how people learn and how people engage, okay? And the traditional method of giving someone a manual and saying, here you go, read this, everything there is to know about this piece of equipment, that doesn't work now, okay? We're talking about a generation who are joining the workforce who don't read books very much, okay? They've grown up on screens, okay? So they've grown up interacting through, immediate methods like online messaging chats, okay? They've grown up playing games, okay? David made mention before about that's great for all the GPU-based stuff, okay? But now you've got a whole generation that thinks and works in this way, okay? So, bring a graduate engineer into your organisation, sitting them down saying, here you go, read this 500-page manual on this piece of equipment and you'll be good to go. It's not going to be the most exciting thing they're ever going to do, okay? As the factory is going digital, then the workforce needs to go digital to keep up with it, okay? Because how do we deliver that information as we go through? So this is where really augmented reality comes into play, okay? So augmented reality, superimposing computer graphics onto a live view of the world, okay? So AR is all around us all of the time, okay? Loads of examples out there. Things like your reversing camera. That's AR, right? Put the car in reverse, there's a camera looking at the back and it shows you the lines on where you should be going, okay? We've got all of our social media filters. We've got gaming, things like Pokemon Go and the like. Minecraft just announced they're going to start doing AR, okay? Google Maps. Anyone got a Pixel here? No? I know Brian does. Oh, there we go. So Google, if you're up the back. So Google Maps just rolled out AR instructions in their app for Pixel users, okay? So the idea of that is, now I walk out of a building, I don't know where I am, I hold up the camera, I look around at the world, it matches what it sees through the camera to all of that Google Street View information they've been generating over the last 20 years or more to work out where you are and which direction you're facing, give you better directions, okay? So AR is really around us all the time, okay? But what's the business value of AR? Is it really great having, rainbow vomit filters when I'm chatting to someone online? Probably not, okay? So what we need to look at is, well, what are the capabilities of AR? Okay, so at a high level, there's three things that it can do or offers. Visualizing information, helping with instructing or guiding, or also helping with interacting, okay? So let's talk about them. So on the visualize side of things, the core of AR, overlaying digital information in a live view of the world. So that can be hypothetical or real-world digital information shown in context, okay? So sales and marketing has been a really, really long time example of where companies have been using AR. Okay, my first experience ever with AR was I was looking to buy a new TV to replace my old CRT, ancient piece of tech, okay, with a flat screen. Panasonic had an app, you downloaded the app, you printed off the marker, sat it on the desk, got the app on your phone, looked at the marker, and there was a 1:1 scale view of the TV, what it was going to look like in your living room, okay, to get a sense of how big and the size and the scale of it, okay. I wasn't allowed to get the bigger one, unfortunately, but, you know, that's just life, okay. So, you know, companies like that have been doing AR for a long time. IKEA has been doing AR for almost a decade now. So in the latest version of their app, okay, you download the app, you point it at the living room, pick a piece of furniture, you're going to see what does this look like in context. So it helps with engagement. There's been loads of studies to show how AR improves sales and customer engagement and all those other great things for sales and marketing, okay? So AR has been really, really commonly used for helping display those digital models in the real world, okay? Another example, this is something that we did. This is taking third-party CAD data, any kind of 3D data. So we took some simulation results from ANSYS and used AR to overlay them on the real vehicle. This is something we did with the RMIT Formula SAE team, okay, to show the turbulent flow over the car travelling at 60 kilometres an hour, okay? So to help people visualise, this is what the airflow looks like over this vehicle, okay? Or a big part on the IoT side is the ability to display IoT data, okay? So we can stream all of this information from our sensors through ThingWorx to our system, but we can use IoT to display that information back in context. So I'm operating on that machine, I could use AR to see, well, what are all of the values on this machine while it's running, rather than having to go and look at a screen somewhere else, okay? So AR helps us to visualize information. Another big use case of AR, again, where there's been lots and lots of studies, is around how AR helps with instruction or guiding people through processes, okay? So that could be helping training purposes to guide someone through that process, or maybe providing real-time access to experts, okay, if you get stuck on something. So this is an example. This is an assembly example. This is a joint project that was done by BA Systems in the US and Microsoft and PTC. So the operator there, she's putting together an electric battery for a bus. They're all electric. So she already knows how to put a battery together, but what she's getting is real-time instructions on how to put together this battery, okay? So showing that in AR while she's wearing the eyewear, okay? Or remote expert assistance, okay? I'm out there in the field, I've encountered something, I'm not quite sure what I should be doing, I'll call someone, okay? So rather than trying to verbally describe what I'm looking at, I might show them my view of the real world. I still might have to be describing what I'm doing, so we can use AR to help overlay and annotate that view of the world while we're talking to better understand what we're looking at, okay? So I'll show you some examples of this a little bit later on, okay? And the last one is around interacting with pieces or devices, okay? So as devices become smarter, connected, and digital, okay, we can now start to use AR as another means to interact with that, okay? So maybe we don't need to build a HMI, a screen, or a display into that device, okay? We can connect to it remotely, maybe we can control it remotely, we can build our own UI, project it in the real world on top of that piece of equipment. So this is a video from Howden. So they're a company, a PTC customer, and they are rolling this out. So they make air handling equipment. So the operator's walked up, found that piece of equipment. There's an AR interface overlaid on top of that piece of equipment, projected into the real world that allows him to interact, to find out what's going on, maybe to order new parts, to see how he should get into that part, how he's going to pull it apart to get to that spare part that he's just going to order. Okay? So this is the reality of what's available now. This is not science fiction, what's coming in 10 years' time. You can do this now. Okay? All right. So that's sort of at a high level the three capabilities of AR. So, coming back to our industrial pressures, how do they help? So on the productivity side, okay, we're talking here about helping onboard people more quickly, okay? There have been loads of studies to show how AR increases or decreases training time, increases retention. The example from BAE in that video, okay? So it was basically a 50% reduction in first-time assembly rate, okay, by being guided through, watching those instructions live as she was doing it, okay, as opposed to the traditional method of reading a manual, looking at your SOPs stuck on, in laminated cards, with a zip tied to the workstation as you flick through the bits of paper to see what you got to do next, okay. Be more agile. So, I can grab the instructions anytime I like. Increase comprehension. That's really one of the big ones. When people read stuff, the general consensus is you retain probably about 5 to 10% of that. If you do stuff, you retain maybe sort of 80 to 90% of that. Okay, so AI can help you go through that process of doing it while you're learning. Okay, effectiveness and efficiency. Okay, so deliver the right information at the right time. Okay, call in those experts, get the right outcome, and differentiation. Okay. So as we can start to, help the customers understand our products more, that can help us, engage with them more, differentiate ourselves in a competitive marketplace. Okay. So, one of the big messages from PTC is that, AR, it really complements IoT. So IoT is around going to the physical world and using sensors and other bits of equipment to gather information digitally. Okay. So we can stream that into a server, we can make sense of that, we can maybe create a digital twin. So with AR, we can take that digital information and then project that or overlay that back in the real world to help us get a better understanding of what's happening. Okay, so let's talk about what PTC's got in their bag of tricks in the AR world. Okay, so Vuforia Engine. So Vuforia Engine is the world's most widely used software development kit for building AR applications. Okay, over nearly 60% of market share globally for AR development, okay? But it's a development kit, right? That means getting a bunch of programmers in, building an app, going through an IT project, okay? So the IKEA example, that was built using Vuforia Engine, okay? But a lot of companies don't have the time and the budget to do those sorts of gigantic projects, okay? So 3 years ago, PTC launched a product called Vuforia Studio. So this is for enterprise content creators to quickly take existing data they've got and build connected AR experiences. So if those of you might have seen the example over there with the Harrop supercharger on the engine, that was built in Vuforia Studio. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Okay, Vuforia Chalk, this is our remote expert guidance. Okay, show you what I'm seeing and let's talk through that problem. Okay, with a live view of the world. And the most recent one, which only launched earlier this month, Vuforia Expert Capture. So rapidly capture expert knowledge. And again, I'll talk about this in a little bit. So, PTC's been on quite a journey with Vuforia. So they basically acquired Vuforia back in 2015, okay? And they launched ThingWorx Studio, as I said, about 3 years ago, okay? We talked this morning with the Creo people about how the AR integration to Creo Parametric came back in Creo 4, okay? Chalk got launched in 2017 in the US, but then became globally available last year, okay? And also we saw expansion of AR capabilities into Windchill and Creo View last year as well, okay? Our cousins across the pond got Chalk a little bit later on. Earlier this year, Microsoft had their launch of the HoloLens 2, which at this stage is still the most advanced AR headset, and PTC was one of the launch partners for that event, okay, based on the work that they've been doing in AR with Vuforia, okay? And then we saw Expert Capture launched, as I said earlier this month, okay? So let's talk about what's been going on in a little bit more detail. So on the Creo and Windchill side, we talked about this morning, but for those who don't know, basically, if you're a Creo customer, okay, running Creo Parametric or Creo View or Creo Elements Direct, or if you have Windchill, you can publish AR experiences of your 3D design data for free, okay? So you can basically publish up to 10 experiences out to let people view those at 1:1 in the real world, okay? You've got the ability to make them public so anyone can see them, or private so you can only share the data with only the people you want to see it. The process is made really easy to share through the generation of QR codes to email that out. So people just need all the instructions to download the app and off they go. Okay, and also in the latest version now, the models that you directly publish out can also be viewed on the HoloLens if your end user happens to have one. So AR Design Share is really about, here is my model, I want to share that for a design review. I want to let my customer or my supplier see that at 1:1 scale in the real world to get a better understanding of what we're talking about, okay? Vuforia Studio. So as I mentioned, Vuforia Studio launched about 3 years ago, and it was really designed to let enterprises who want to get into AR do that more quickly and easily. They don't want to go through the process of, building an app, hiring a development team, going through a huge IT project. Okay, they want something to quickly and easily build AR. Okay, so Studio comes with its companion app, Vuforia View. So the idea is I can use Studio to reuse those existing 3D assets that I've got. I can, use sequences I might have created in Creo Illustrate that we talked about this morning. I can integrate that very quickly. It's built on ThingWorks, so we can very quickly integrate IoT data into that. And the idea is I can quickly author AR experiences if I want without writing any code or maybe minimal coding, okay? And I can distribute that app and easily scale that out to the enterprise or to my customer base, okay? So here's an example video of some AR instructions created inside Vuforia Studio. So this is, as you can see, a generated startup sequence. Okay, so the idea is this has been captured off a tablet. So this is showing someone, how do you go through the process of starting this up? Okay, so the first thing we're going to be looking for, we're going to be using Vuforia's object recognition technology. So we are looking for that in the real world, like it did in the Howden video. Once it's found that, it's overlaying the AR on top of the real object. Okay, we've got our different safety warnings, our keep out zones, our temperature warnings, our electrical warnings. Okay, so we go through that and then it can guide us through the process. So now we need to go around here. Okay, it's showing us where to go. Here's the emergency shutoff. So I can say, yep, okay, I understand that. Here's where the toggle breaker is. Here's how you turn it off by flicking that switch down. Okay, so we're overlaying this information on top of the real world piece of equipment. Open up the phase panel. Okay, here's where you can see what it looks like inside. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. There we go. Here's the schematic diagram showing what it looks like. Okay, how the wires are connected up. All right. Once we've okayed that, we've verified that, now we've got to go back around to this side. Okay, we've got a couple of switches to flick. Okay, so we've got to turn that, flick that switch up to 120 volts. Now we've got to go back around to the other side again. And here's a toggle breaker, we can switch it on. Now we press the run button and we're ready to go. Okay, so the idea is you can guide someone through that process while they're doing it, rather than relying on them reading a manual, okay, and then trying to go back to the piece of equipment and understand what's going on. Okay, so that's an example of using AR instructions authored inside Vuforia Studio. Okay, so Vuforia Studio, a bit different to other PDC bits of software. It's on a very much an agile development cycle. So with a release every 30 days. Okay, so they're really tuning them out. So there's the release history over the last year. So you can see basically every month there's a new build coming out. The next one due next week, actually. So lots of things happening on the Vuforia Studio side in those 12 months, okay? So things like if you are doing any coding, Java or CSS, some better tools for helping you understand if you made any silly mistakes inside your code, expanding out the language support. So, they added in Chinese, Spanish and Italian. It already supported a whole bunch of other languages, French, obviously English, Russian and things like that, okay? More hardware support for 2D eyewear devices, adding in the Vuzix M300 device alongside the RealWear. More data format import support, okay? So we can import in, step files and IGES and OBJ and those sorts of neutral file formats, STL, VRML. We can import Creo and SolidWorks and Inventor. We can also now import CATIA data if you need to. Model tracking for the HoloLens. So this is that object recognition, okay? Finding the real world object and placing and aligning the AR relative to that, okay? So the Caterpillar generator video showed that, and you see that screenshot from the Howden video where that's now available on the HoloLens. So I can put my eyewear on, I can walk up to that piece of equipment to find it, align it, and then that will then position the AR on top of it, okay? Spatial tracking for Windows devices, so that's the ability to find a ground plane to quickly and easily tap to place my AR on the ground, okay? QR code generation for sharing of experiences, okay? Making it easy to share and distribute. Little graphical things like automatic shadows, okay? So the model casts a shadow on the floor. The Creo guys, you would have seen that. The Creo offering doesn't do that, but inside Studio it does, okay? Integration into Vuforia Chalk, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide. Okay. Image targets, so another way of aligning your AR to the real world, okay? I don't have the CAD data or the 3D model of that. What I can use is an image, so like maybe it's the logo that I've got on the side, okay, or the manufacturing plate or whatever it might be. As long as there's enough definition there to pick it up, I can use that image as my target to align and place my AR in the real world, okay? And a recent introduction was barcode scanning, okay? So the idea for barcode scanning is, if we talk about our generator, okay? So I've got a whole fleet of those generators out there in the field. So geometrically, they are all the same. So the startup procedure, the service procedures will be the same. But what if I want to use AR to look at the live data feed from those pieces of equipment, the IoT data, which we can do, okay? Well, how do I know which one I've got to read the data from? So the idea is I could start an experience to show me the general instructions that are common across all of them. And then now I want to see IoT data, so I can start my barcode scanner, scan the barcode for that particular product, which will then go back into ThingWorx, look up that item, and start streaming the data from that piece of equipment into my AR experience. And I could go to another piece of equipment and start reading its data from that one, okay? So there's a little bit more flexibility there in terms of how I read that information. So that's a little bit about what's been going on inside Vuforia Studio, okay? Lots of bits and pieces happening in the last 12 months and plenty more to come as well, okay? All right, Vuforia Chalk, okay? So Vuforia Chalk is that remote expert assistance that I talked about. So I think the easiest way to explain it is to show you this video.
This is Vuforia Chalk, an easy-to-use, powerful support tool that allows your workforce to collaborate in real time, anywhere. Chalk enables your workforce to connect for support or training. First, employees can share a live view of their workspace with an expert or coworker.
The waste valve here. Now that that's closed, you can turn on your surface wash valve, which is here.
Okay, got it.
Both people can draw on the world and work together as if they are together. And thanks to Vuforia Augmented Reality technology, your annotations stick exactly where they're drawn, even when you move around as you work. In fact, you can pause the live view to draw easy-to-follow, multi-step instructions. With Chalk, simple instructions help you solve complex problems, quickly and effectively. Chalk works on mobile devices, meaning your most experienced minds are accessible anytime, anywhere.
And then you want to open either one of these two motor meters here.
Having your best minds on the job remotely means solving the problem right the first time, reducing equipment downtime, and improving your bottom line. Vuforia Chalk. See it, solve it, together.
So that's Vuforia Chalk in a nutshell, okay? Very simple. Pretty much you saw exactly what it does in that video. It's sharing a live view of the world but helping you annotate while you're talking to better understand what's going on, okay? So if you want to try that out, search the App Store for Vuforia and download Chalk and have a play with it, okay? The last thing I wanted to mention is Expert Capture. So this is the most recent product. I can't show you it, but this is around building AR experiences where maybe we don't have 3D assets. What if I've got a piece of equipment that we've bought in, you know, someone knows how to do all the work on that, but now we want to capture that information, okay?
Industrial manufacturers are expected to face millions of unfilled jobs in the next decade. Their ability to leverage existing resources and improve productivity has never been more important. Now is the time to evolve how workers access and learn critical information, to reduce scrap, rework, and training cost, and save manufacturers tens of millions of dollars a year. That's why we've created Vuforia Expert Capture. It's the fastest, easiest way to create powerful step-by-step instructions that help frontline workers get their jobs done quickly and accurately. Knowledge is easily recorded without the need for existing assets or causing disruption to high-value workers, and used to create step-by-step instructions highlighting safety precautions and relevant locations. Content is easily fine-tuned, published, and managed through a secure SaaS-based environment and automatically optimized for viewing on Microsoft HoloLens, RealWear HMT1, and mobile devices. Augmented instructions are easily accessed by new or reassigned workers, increasing efficiency, accuracy, and safety. New skills are learned on the job, cutting training time and costs. Safety warnings are presented at the moment they're relevant, reducing the risk of injury. Workers follow location markers to successfully complete the required steps. Each step of the procedure can be documented and analyzed to improve efficiency and compliance. Vuforia Expert Capture from PTC. Transforming the way manufacturers reduce waste and enable a safer, more productive workforce.
That's expert capture. So the idea, what the video was showing you through there is your expert goes through a process. So they put on a piece of basically headwear, okay? So they will run the capture app and they will go through the process. While they're going through that process, it will be recording video, photos, sound. They can create bookmarks, define steps. But the idea is they can go through that process hands-free, doing what they need to do, okay? And explain it as they go. So the system is capturing that information while they're doing it. So at the moment that's put on the RealWear device, which is essentially a 2D device with a camera and microphone, okay? If I'm using a Microsoft HoloLens, then I also have the advantage of capturing spatial information. That means it's location aware, so it will know that I'm here versus over at that part of the room, okay? So it can show me those locations I need to go to. So I can capture all of that information. I can take that into the editor and start editing those instructions. Okay, taking all of those photos and videos and everything else, I can bring in other information I might have, my old manuals, text from that, other photos or videos that I might have to basically go and edit and create those instructions, okay? And then I can distribute that back out through either creating documentation, because at the end of the day, some people still want to create documents, okay? Or by using the Vuforia View app that I'd use to view my applicant or my authored experiences in Studio. I can also distribute those out in the same way, either through mobile tablets, again, the RealWear or HoloLens devices. Okay, so the main difference here, as you saw in the video, is that we're not overlaying those live instructions on top while you're doing it. It's more of here are the instructions just up here floating while I'm doing it, so I can just glance at that and do it. But I can have also, I don't need to have any 3D data to build that. It's really just capturing that information and helping me more easily write those sorts of instructions. Okay, so that's expert capture. It's the latest in PTC's AR bag of tricks. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit of a summary on what's been going with AR.